Welcome to the Women Inspire Aspire podcast. In this episode, I talk to Dr. Nagamani Krishnamurthy about educational psychology. Hi, Dr. Nagamani. Thank you for accepting my invite to appear in this podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, very well. Thank you so much, Venkat.
Great. So, could you please go ahead and tell a bit about yourself, your background, where do you live, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So I basically born and brought up in Bangalore, and I love my city. That's one of the things which I want to say. I started my career as a teacher, as a chemistry teacher in a pre-university college, and I moved on to become head of the department in chemistry in various first grade colleges. And then I am the founder and CEO of my academy called Bala Vikasa, and I run mental wellness programs for children, young people, parents, and teachers.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, how did you choose to become a child psychologist? What made you pursue that line of work?
Okay, I think it all started way back when I was a child. I loved children, and that is how I became interested in educational psychology. As I started my journey as a teacher, I was interacting with teenagers. As you know, that in pre-university colleges, we have teenagers who are pursuing science and having ambitious aspirations to become doctors, engineers, architects, etc. And I found that they are actually faced with many challenges, both in personal and academic pursuits. Uh, and I found that to be a very, very intriguing aspect. And I always wanted to reach out to these young people and support them in their challenges. So that's how I started my journey as an educational psychologist. I worked under an eminent educationist, Dr. T.K. Jayalakshmi, who was the director of RV Educational Consortium. And I had the privilege of working with her as a research consultant in many educational projects funded by UNICEF and World Bank. So it's the challenges which children and teenagers used to face which made me to delve more into child development and educational psychology in particular. And I pursued my studies in educational psychology and child development as not only a student but also as a researcher. So, my journey as a researcher and educational psychologist has been amazing so far, and I wish to continue the same.
That's wonderful. I wish you all the best on that area. Now
Thank
now that you have mentioned about educational psychology in particular,
Yeah.
let's talk about a few things that are related to educational psychology. First, my question is the academic pressure that the children face these days, either be it in the school or in the college. So, what are some effective ways to handle academic pressure?
The first and foremost factor, I think, is the parental pressure, which is the root cause of academic pressure in students. Basically, parents are trying to expect a lot from their children, though they themselves may not be able to provide for their psychological and emotional needs. It's not that I am saying that parents are intentionally troubling their children. It's just that it's such a highly competitive world today that everybody wants to showcase their own success and their children's and family's success to others in the world. And this unknowingly creates a lot of stress in the children because they want to prove their mettle with the children, with the parents, and also with others in the society. And this plays a major role in making students go haywire with their academics. And the one way to tackle this, I think, is to address the matter with the parents And parents may need to be made more aware of how they can strategize and support their children's emotional needs, and how they can be inspiring and motivating the students to achieve success rather than force them to achieve success. Because here, I think I have to mention that success is defined in different ways by different individuals, and we need to make sure that success for a student is totally defined by the student and not by the parent or the educator. So, if
Right.
we are able to bring both parents and teachers on a single platform and help them in supporting the students with their own aspirations and with their own abilities, then I think a lot of academic pressure will be lifted on them.
Absolutely. So you mentioned about children going haywire. Now
Yeah.
let's talk in detail a bit about that aspect. What are some signs of anxiety or depression or other mental health challenges that the children might display when they are in this extreme pressure, academic pressure, or maybe due to the external circumstances or the cultural environments that they are in? So, how do we find out if they are being stressed?
Yeah, there are many indicators, and I think if parents or any adult is sensitized and made aware of these symptoms, I think it will be helpful for the students. So the one very common factor, which is very obviously found in students, is lack of concentration and attendance. Students will not be willing to attend classes. Students will try to stay away from books and stay away from classes or from parents. Also, they may not be eating well, or they may overeat. They may not be sleeping well. They may be sleeping too late in the night, and parents will not be aware of how to handle this situation because they think that the child is hiding some aspects from the parents. It's not that. It's just that the pressure is so much that they try to get solace from external sources, which is not going to help them. So I think if I bring you back to the previous point, which I mentioned, that parents need to be made aware of the children's needs, especially the psychological and emotional needs. And if we encourage them to use the strategies for supporting the students, then I think all these aspects will be taken care of. So other symptoms could be like faking illness. It's not that they're faking illness, they will actually fall sick. You can say that many times you might have observed that students, just before the exam, they start getting a fever, or they throw up, or they fall sick, and they will be unable to get up from the bed. It is physically noticeable symptom that they are sick, but actually they are not sick. It is a psychosomatic sickness which is caused because of the stress. So if we are able to look out for such symptoms, I think it will help the students in navigating those challenges.
Okay, thank you for that input. Let's talk about the resilience in the children. Children are
Yeah.
going through multiple pressures, pressure for time. There could be bullying in the school. There could be cultural impact. So there are so many things. So I was just talking to a principal in a school, and I just realized that it's a triangle. You have the parent, you have the child, and then you have the teachers. Now in this, triangle, even if one goes wrong, if there is some disturbance in some area, then ultimately the child is going to get affected. So it's a three-way game that we are looking at. And I figured that the resilience of the children are so important in this, in overcoming the different challenges that they are facing on a day-to-day basis. What are your inputs on some techniques that the children can use to build resilience? What can they do about it?
Yeah. So you've asked a question which is very close to my heart. This is the area in which I have worked for more than 2 decades. And yeah, it is a three-way approach. And my research academy, Bala Vikasa, has been focusing on this aspect entirely. So I have done a lot of research on how collaborative efforts between student, parent, and teacher will help students to navigate their emotional well-being. And I also believe in metacognition, helping them face this challenge. So, when I say metacognition, you might be wondering how this could help children. Using creativity and critical thinking is one of the major aspects in nurturing resilience. I would like to explain it a little bit. If you take a situation where a student is facing some crisis situation or facing a challenge in academics or social issues, these students are not able to critically evaluate the situation and think of an innovative way of solving the situation or coming out of the situation. And that is where the metacognitive skills will work. And I have research studies which I have conducted in my school, which goes to prove that nurturing creative and critical thinking in children will enhance resilience and emotional intelligence in children. And a few things which children have to take care of is on their own, they may not be able to do this, but organizations like Bala Vikasa and many others will be able to help them with this. That is to get involved in activities which nurture their creative and critical thinking, which will obviously get transferred to other aspects of life. And they will naturally get involved in critically analyzing every situation they face in life, and they will never come to a dead end. If you take students who are committing suicide or who are getting into drugs and other means of taking care of their failures or any crisis, you can see that there is no critical thinking here. They have not thought through the situation or they have not understood why it is happening to them. And they have also not thought of a way out of this circumstance, and that is where I say these students come to a dead end. But a creative thinker will never come to a dead end. They will always think of an innovative way of working out strategies to come out of a crisis situation. And that is why it is important for children and young people to get involved in activities which nurture their creative and critical thinking.
Okay, that sounds great. Now, let's talk a bit about social media. Today, there is so much of complaint about children having too much of screen time, they are too much into social media, and the ill effects of what is being shared in the social media having an impact on their behavior and in turn into their education. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you think the parents can address this?
Okay, so the root cause of children getting into social media is the family circumstance. I have come across many children and many families who are staying away from social media. That's because the bonding between the parents and children are so great that they have a clear communication channel between the parents and children, and the children go back to the parents for advice or for suggestion, and they share their innermost concerns and fears with the parents and not with the third person. And these children do not need endorsement from anybody else. They are self reliant and they are independent. To avoid children going into social media platforms, I think parents should take a look at their own parenting styles and what they have been offering their children in terms of confidence or in terms of being a confidant for their children. If the parents have been able to establish a clear communication channel with the child, I think these children will not get into social media.
Okay.
This is my experience. Yeah.
Wonderful. Actually, the parenting style we talked a little bit about, and then we also talked about the psychology behind the, children psychological development and how their education is affected by that. Now, let's talk about your own personal experiences with children. what has been the most rewarding aspect for you when you work with the children?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, because every child which entered Bala Vikasa has been a rich experience for me. And I have treated every child as a very precious one. And one of the most interesting aspects which I found while working with very young children, especially between the ages of 2 to 6, which is what I have been working with, is that these children are having a set of personality traits which are the most beautiful ones. Every child is born with the most beautiful traits. It is for the adults to basically protect and preserve these traits so that they become beautiful individuals later on in life. And in my experience, Balavikasa has been striving hard to protect everybody's personality, which is born, and we have tried to preserve it. And it is possible to do so with the collaboration with parents. And every time I see a child which has nurtured into a very positive and holistic personality, I feel proud and I feel immensely happy to see that I have made at least a minute difference in the lives of children. And one example I could quote here is I started my research preschool way back in 2006. And the very first batch of students have now graduated to the college. So recently, I had an interaction with one of my children who was in 10th standard. And this girl lost her mother during COVID times. And in spite of which, she appeared for the ICSE 10th board exams and she scored 98%. After the results, she called me and told me that it was my investment in her personality during her early years, which made her to be so resilient that she was able to take the exams, which really brought tears to my eyes. And that's one of my fondest memories I have with my school children. It's not that I wish them something bad to happen, but my children are able to face crisis situations even in those situations. They are able to strategize and resolve their situation. I'm so proud of that.
That's really wonderful, and you have had a beautiful experience in that aspect. And I wish you many such beautiful experiences with the interactions with the children. Now, I want to ask one specific question about bullying, because many of the podcast guests in the past have talked about bullying in the schools as one of the important societal concerns. Is bullying being treated or attended to in your framework that you are doing the research in? Why the bullying is happening and how we should address that? I have heard that this happens only during a specific. It starts with a specific age group. So can you throw some light on that and discuss about some solutions that we can have?
Yeah, so I have worked with very young children, and bullying can start at any age. In fact, it can start even when they are very young, like toddlers. So the one thing which I took care was my school was inclusive and had a very positive culture. It is the institutional culture which supports children to be united and children to respect and accept all the others in the same manner. So I believe in building and establishing this culture in the organization, whether it is a school or a college or any organization. I think it starts from there. So the culture which I created in my school was so nurturing that everybody, I had a inclusive setting where I had children with differently abled children. I had learning disabled children, and I even had some children with speech and other difficulties. In spite of which, these children never pointed out the challenges which the other children were facing. Instead, they were supportive and encouraging. This happened because of the culture which I had developed and instituted in my organization. My teachers, the children in my school, everybody was having that culture of respecting and valuing every individual for who they are. And in this situation, nobody will try bullying others. Bullying happens only when we think that we are better off than the other person. We have an edge over other person. But if we say that, okay, I have something positive in me and you have something else. So I respect you for who you are and I want you to respect me for who I am. If that culture is nurtured, I think bullying will not exist.
Wonderful. So, how do we spread this message, or how do we take this message forward? Not just about the handling the bullying aspect, but
Yeah.
also about the educational psychology work that you are doing. Are you planning to build some franchises around so that it can be taken to more people and more schools and more children? How are you planning to spread the joy of your work?
As of now, I think I have got a platform, a global platform, which is a mobile application. And on that application, people can access my training, my programs of mental wellness. And also, there is a unique collaborative teacher training program which we have launched recently. There are plenty of free resources which they can access on this platform, and I have collaborations with professionals, child psychologists, and early childhood experts across the globe. And we are providing these programs online and evergreen programs so that people are able to access it at their own pace and time. Having a franchisee is not on my mind because of the fact that franchisees will dilute the quality. I have seen many of the times that the vision of the creator is not shared with the person who has taken it as a franchise, and that's the reason I am not interested in having franchisee.
Okay.
So, yeah, anybody who wants to access my programs, they can feel free to log on to my platform, which is called as Empower, and I can share the link with you.
Sure, that would be great. We talked a lot about your work. Now let's get into your life aspects, your family. What do you do apart from your work, your hobbies and interests, if any, etc.?
Sure. I'm a people's person, and yeah, I have only one son, and my son is the example of my practice because he was the first guinea pig on whom I experimented my educational psychology and child development technique, I think. And I must say that he has become an extraordinarily well mannered and highly intellectual individual, if I can say so myself. Other than that, I think my hobbies are writing articles on various aspects of child development and mental wellness. I love designing artwork, and I love meeting people. I spend my I spend a lot of time with my friends and family because I think they are the most important people in my life, and I do spend very good quality time with friends and family.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing those. We are coming to the conclusion of the podcast. Do you have any questions for me?
What inspired you to have a podcast with me?
I interact with people from diverse backgrounds, as you might have seen in the list of episodes that have already happened. And psychology is one of my favorite subjects, and child psychology, especially, has been intriguing me because I've been talking to a few groups which are working in government schools and also imparting education about environment and climate change, etc., and how to impart this education to the children in the schools, etc. So that discussion had been happening, and there has been a lot of discussion about education from various aspects of it, different groups and different sets of people. And so when I saw your profile, I got really interested to talk about child psychology and what it involves and how to go about it and things like that. So that's the reason I invited you to the podcast. Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Venkat. And I think before I conclude, I would like to mention that I do get involved in community projects. My interests are the challenges and discrimination faced by women and children across the globe. Even in today's world, women are highly educated and successful in their careers, but they are still being ill treated and abused in the family. Nobody talks about it. Children are not provided positive family environments which are nourishing their personalities. And it is soul stirring for me to see women and children suffering. And in my opinion, every child deserves to get the best from this world, and I will always work towards making children's lives a happier one. And in this aspect, there is a huge community research project which is in the pipeline. It is going to be a multinational collaborative research project which will work on creating a model for maintaining mental wellness among children and young people across the globe in various socioeconomic conditions and various cultural settings. This is going to be a very huge project, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm happy to say that professionals across the globe have been very positive about my work, and they are supporting me in my ventures. So, this is one way of reaching out to people across the globe from me. And I invite everybody to join me in this journey and make a contribution to making every child's life a better one in this world. Thank you so much.
That's fantastic. That's great to know. And whoever is interested in being in touch with Dr. Nagamani can find them in LinkedIn, correct? So,
Yes.
and be in touch with her and follow her work and subscribe to whatever initiatives that she is going to come up with in the future and so on, and be involved in the great work that she is doing. So thanks, Dr. Nagamani, so much for your time and patience and taking part in this podcast and answering in detail the various questions related to educational psychology. I wish you all the best in your work and whatever you do in the future. And please take care and bye for now.
Thank you so much, Venkat. Bye.
That was a great podcast with Dr. Nagamani Krishnamurthy. Please subscribe to this channel and follow it for more awesome podcasts. Opinions expressed by the guests in this podcast are their own. The host or the sponsors of the podcast do not condone the opinions expressed by the guests or the actions arising out of those opinions. Any decisions or actions that the listeners might take as a result of listening to this podcast must be based on their own judgment and will be at their own risk. The podcast host or their sponsors will not be held responsible for the consequences of any actions and or decisions taken as a result of any content in this podcast.